It's week 11. Welcome into the week 11 Giants Hangouts. The Giants Hangout podcast is presented by Crestron, the proud partner of the New York Football Giants. I'm Madelyn Burke alongside Jonathan Casillas and Brandon London. As always, guys, week 11, a little bit of deja vu going to face the Washington Commanders, who we just saw in week 7. However, a little different because number 1, it's at their place. Number 2, we got Tommy DeVito making his second career start. Number 3, Sam Howell is playing a lot better, Brandon, than he was the last time these two teams faced each other.
Yeah, you got an offense coordinator like Eric Bieniemy. I will have all the confidence in the world in myself and my offense as well. And then we continue. Last time we had to hang out. First and foremost, how y'all doing? Last time we had to hang out with week 7, we walked in talking about the pass catchers that he has in this offense and the solid power running game. So I'd be confident as well. I think this game is going to be a real test of a lot of people being evaluated this week, JC. You know, as the player, you can look at it and be like, all right, they're 4-6, we're 2-8. One, you know, you're playing for your spot, not only game by game for the rest of this year, but for where you'll be at in the NFL next year as well. So it's a big challenge for every Giant on that football team, player and coach, because everyone's being evaluated by someone higher up than them. But this is going to be one of those games where Giants defense guys are going to have to go ahead, bring their lunch pail to work, because they're going to have to get active and get after it against this Commanders offense.
Can't do it without a lunch pail.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to be able to keep this Commanders offense to 7 points like they did the first time they played.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is a team that understands how to move the ball. I think Sam Howell is doing a better job of getting the ball out. I don't think he's been sacked recently, but not as much.
Oh yeah.
As earlier in the year, the Giants had 6 sacks on him, but he's like, before that, he was averaging like 5-6 a game.
Right. The Giants had 6 sacks on him in week 7. He's been sacked 7 times in the 3 games since then. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've done a better job in protecting him. What the Giants need to do though, bro, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this, because you can't expect Tommy DeVito to go out and run a full functional offense, whatever that looks like, against somebody like Sam Howell, who's leading the league in passing, meaning he understands how to get the ball downfield to his receivers, and he can run the football as well. Mm-hmm. He's a real dual threat quarterback. So defensively, the Giants, I don't think Dexter Lawrence is going to have a game like he did, because I remember last game, I'm sitting there like, yo, Dexter Lawrence got 4 sacks at halftime because he was that dominant. He only ended up being 2.
He was making light work of Nick Gates, though. Those two were former teammates. We all know Nick Gates quite well too, and they were going after it.
And I don't think Dexter's going to have another performance like that. So it's going to take all of the guys to pick up the slack for not just. Like I said, I don't think Dexter's going to be that dominant. It's going to be hard to replicate that again, especially because he already did it. Like they're like, you can't do the same thing to us twice.
If he does, that's saying something.
Oh, if he does, then I mean the Giants will be in the game.
And that's why I say everyone's going to get evaluated. You know, whoever's next to him, can you produce like a Leonard Williams was producing, or do we have to go find someone to replace you on the outside? Kayvon, can you give us another splash game again? Azeez Ojulari. What's going to keep you here
at all?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, is he playing?
We shall see. We'll keep an eye on the injury report too. You mentioned Kayvon too. Coach Brian Dable mentioned earlier today that Kayvon Thibodeau and Jalen Hyatt, both who left the game with a concussion last week, are progressing through the concussion protocol quite quickly. They've already gotten to the next step, so they will be practicing today, Thursday, with no contact. So
I speak
optimism for Kayvon and Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, I speak as if these guys could play or possibility, but again, even if they don't, it's the opportunity for somebody else to step in. It's time to stick around, JC. It's not like you go. I'm a bubble guy. I'm sorry. That's what I'm thinking right now. If I get that opportunity to get up in there for a Kayvon or for a Dory Jackson or something, you don't have to worry about. Coach, I ain't thinking about Caleb Williams. I ain't because I'm not thinking about that at all. I'm thinking about trying to pay a light bill next week. Right. And stick around. So I don't think guys are going to go out there and try and tank, or guys aren't going to go out there and play with the emotion or anything like that. It's just you have to be smart, because you could get greedy at times like that when you're trying to make too many plays or you're trying to show up on tape too much. You just got to go out there, relish the opportunity, go make some plays, and at the end of the day, still find a way to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part, because in any sport, fun equals wins. Wins equals fun.
Yeah.
You know, and the Giants really haven't had that much fun because they really haven't won that much.
Yep.
And they haven't, I feel like, executed a complimentary football game. Like, even with the 2 wins, there still was 2 quarters in the Cardinals game in the second half, 2 quarters against the Commanders in the first half, because the Giants have scored no points in the second half versus the Commanders.
Right. That's true.
You know, so the Giants have to figure out a way. In order for you to get back to that fun, it requires you to play good football. You know, it requires you to execute situationally, which I feel like the Giants haven't done this year. I think last year, the quarterback play was a lot better overall, because you got 3 quarterbacks that played this year. Excuse me. Last year was just Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones last year was better than this year's Daniel Jones.
Well, and last year there were moments in which Daniel Jones went out. He went out. Remember that game? Then Tyrod came in. Tyrod had to go out. Saquon played quarterback for a couple plays. Wow. You know, they were drawing up plays in the dirt. So there, yes, but in a macro level, you're right that there's more at the quarterback position this year too. It's also curious to me when you look at the way the offense has been, because you mentioned you got to have fun to win. You got to win to have fun. It's such a catch-22, kind of goes around in circles. When you've got so many changes, offensive line being changed up this much, quarterback being changed up this much, guys coming in and out with injuries so much, corners down. Having an identity is kind of hard to come by. I mean, Wink Martindale was talking about this earlier today and saying, you know, when you've got next man up, yes, next man up mentality, next man comes and does the job, but you can't expect the next man up to do the exact same job the guy in front of him did, because that skill set is slightly different. That skill set is slightly, maybe this guy's stronger in here and this guy's stronger in there. So you kind of have to curtail it to the personnel on the field. But when that's happening so frequently, does that mess with a team's identity?
It not just the frequency of it, but where it's happening at.
Right.
You got your quarterback, both of your top quarterbacks down, out for right now. They're both out. The first game of the year, you lose arguably your best player on offense in Andrew Thomas. You know, Saquon went down for a few weeks. So it's not that it wasn't like they had so many different injuries. They had a lot of different injuries at very crucial spots. And then now you're losing Leonard Williams. That's another guy who, like, you can't replace a guy with 10 plus years of experience still playing at a high level with anyone.
And not just on the defensive line, but on that side of the defense. You saw Kayvon's production drop off with the absence of Leonard Williams as well.
But we can use it as a talking point, not an excuse.
Right.
In that sense, that's the mindset you got to have.
I'm with you. It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity. And although, like, that's like, that's like my year 07, I'm practice roster. If Plaxico Burress went down, let's say me coming off the practice roster to replace a Plax, I understand. Hey, being around this dude since 2007, I ain't Plaxico Burress skill set wise. That dude did some stuff like out there on the field, but that it's not about like me personally having to pick up that slot. It may have to be Corey Webster getting an extra INT or 2 or something like that. So that mentality, I know it's a lot harder to say. It's a lot harder to go out and do it, because at the end of the day in the NFL, JC, like they say, they get paid too on the other side. So, but it's just when you look at it, and the Giants have still been in some of these games. Miami, they're up for you're hanging with Miami. You should have beat the Bills, should have beat the Jets. These are games that you're still in, like guys are still plugging and playing, and you're still having somewhat success in. But again, to have that fun, you got to get it done.
Yeah, I like that.
To have that fun, you got to get it done. Put that on a bumper sticker, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, I was
honk twice if you're having fun.
I was talking to Schmelk earlier, and I was giving him like a personal example of like me not giving 110%. Very rarely in my career, but it happened. You know, and I think I was a guy that you can never question my effort. But there's a difference between giving a 90, 100%, which on film doesn't look any different than 110%. But I feel like the guys here, they're not giving 110%. And that could be a whole bunch of different reasons why they're not good. Self-preservation, which I think is a huge deal. You know, to try not to get hurt and all that stuff, contract situations, all that good stuff. And it's just like you said, it's not fun. Like, it's not not enjoyable. When you're getting your butt kicked, that's not enjoyable.
Right.
It's really, really hard to say, I'm gonna go above and beyond, you know, and I got called out when I was in at Wisconsin my senior year. I was hurt, and it was like 2 plays in practice that was opposite side of the field. BL, sorry, BT. It was opposite side of the field, and I didn't get off the block and run, you know. And I'm like, why are you making a big deal out of this? And I really had to think about it. I was a guy that was known for running guys down from behind. So with that being said, there's other guys like that on the team. What are you known for? Like, what are you, or do you have, are you making sacks? Like, are you running guys down? Like, if you decide that I'm going to not give my 110% on one play, who knows what you could have done in that play?
Right.
And I think you have a collective group of guys that's not selling out, that's not going above and beyond their actual job, which is required, I think, to have success in the NFL on a consistent basis. You've seen it here and there, but it's really hard when you're losing and it's like, oh my God, same thing happening again. Oh my God, we can't stop these guys. Yep. It's really hard to give that 110. I'm not talking about guys giving 100 because everybody gives 100%, most people at least. Yep. But that extra, like Max Crosby, he doesn't play at 100. He plays at 110. You know what I'm saying? Like Max Crosby plays at 110.
Even like with what we do, everything, you know, you come in, you put together the work, you come in and do a show and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you can start to feel it if, you know, when the team's not doing well and people aren't watching as much because, you know, fans are like, oh, you know, this is hard for me. It's harder. It becomes harder to prepare when you realize that you have, you know, less of an audience. Yep. This. I can imagine it's human nature. You know that fans, you can feel the energy when fans leave the building in the third quarter. You can feel that like people outside don't care. Just like, what is this for? And that's why, you know, you guys know, you always get asked, what's your why? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Because you got to keep coming back to that. Yep. It's all these external validations when a team isn't doing well start to fade off into the distance.
Can't rely on
can't rely on that. You got to come back to your why, your North Star of like, why do I work hard? Why do I prepare? Why do I grind tape as much as I do? Why do I do this week in and week out? And it has nothing to do with if the fans are still in the seats when the clock hits 0 at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, we should kind of like ease up on them a little bit because we do it within our own lives. It's just so happens that they're out there on the field in front of 84,000 people and like we get, you know, in that. So, I mean, if we just think in our own lives, like Madelyn, we've had talks and stuff. It was like, oh, we should be posting more on social media. I should be at the gym more to consistently be doing, I guess, the right thing or going at 110. Yeah, you need momentum and you need that energy to keep you going on 110 because a lot of people 110, 2 days of 110 or 2 plays of 110, and you're not getting the results you want. You're like, well, walk into the huddle, the play, and the celebration if we score on it.
Right. But you're not getting, if you're not getting the results you want, if you're not seeing, like, if you're spending time in the gym and you're not seeing those cuts that you want to get, and all of a sudden you're like, what is this for? Why do I, I'll just go for a quick little half hour on the elliptical, call it a day. I think that's something that is human nature, like you said, Brandon, in everyone's life. And so it's hard to be like, oh, well, these guys need to go harder and this and that. It's human nature to say like, hey, it gets harder to rise to the occasion when all the external validations start to fade away.
Yep. But this is where I come to like the self-preservation deal.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're not giving that 100 to 110%, you're not going to be in the league that much longer. It's a production business, and it goes with teams and also individual players as well. The team success has a lot to do with their record, right? Yeah. Your production has everything to do with you and what you're doing on the field. And your longevity, how you stay in the league, is all about you. Your team could be terrible for 12 years. If you're playing at a high level, you can play 12 years in the NFL.
Right.
But if you start dipping down, you start looking different on film, you're not the same guy anymore, whether that's effort or lack of ability or injuries, whatever the case is, physically that, limited you, you will be evaluated every single time you step on the field. So at the end of the day, your team is probably not going to go to postseason, most likely not going anywhere.
That mischievous laugh.
But the self-preservation should be prevalent there. And it has to be, because you won't get an extension, you won't get another deal, they won't keep you here if you don't play well. Like, they're going to look back. Last year was different. They're looking back and seeing like, oh, we got a good team, a playoff winning team. What pieces could we add on to this team that we already have? After this year is going to be like, okay, who do we need to get rid of to move forward? That is a different perspective when you make the playoffs and when you're at the bottom, possibly picking at the top of the draft.
Or it's like when you're renovating a house. Okay, where are the bones? Where's the structure that we're going to keep? And what are we renovating, right? What walls are we keeping? What rooms are we,
It wasn't no renovation last year.
It wasn't a renovation. Last year it was
bringing in
just,
extra
let's just
pieces.
redecorate a little bit.
Decoration.
Now it's a
we
full-on
went
renovation.
We went from like the Church of Football Scientology to real estate, John Kate +8. Like we out here. This is why, ladies and gentlemen. But when you talk about that ownership and that accountability, like players have to go through, you got to look at it in terms of for players to be evaluated. Coaches got to be feeling the same way as well.
Yeah.
Especially when you think offensively. I'm thinking as a receiver right now, a guy like Isaiah Hodgins, a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, to where Darius Slayton, I want to put some stuff on tape, whether I'm going to be here or I'm going to be elsewhere in a future game. We got 7 games left, Coach. I understand we down to the third dude, but let Booby spin. Like, let him, tell him to throw it. Because at receiver, the only way you can all day, hey, Isaiah Hodgins, good block. You can tell me good block all you want, but that's not going to get Lil Hodgins fed. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's like that has to come to, like, for coaches, and you see the passion between a Slayton and a Shepard on the sideline. I don't look at that as those two guys like there's a division within the locker room in terms of players. I look at it as two guys who, man, I need this rock. I need this eval. And that's not being selfish. It's just that, hey, I can help this guy out. Let me get, in terms of Tommy DeVito, let me get that call. Call me and tell him to throw that.
Accountability though, right, Brandon? Because it's like if you and your teammates, right? When you don't care, you're not saying anything. But if you care about your teammate, if you care about somebody who's like, hey, let's have this conversation. Let's have it. And it gets heated because both people care, because both sides care. It's like any interpersonal relationships. You fight with the people you care about. If you don't fight with people, that's probably because you don't care enough. And then
if they were on the bench, laid back, laughing, eating sunflower seeds,
that would be a problem.
Bad look.
That would be a problem. You want to see people involved in a 2-8 team a little pissed off.
Yeah.
You want to see that because that means they care and they want and expect better from themselves and their teammates.
Yep. And then I like the visuals that I was seeing from Shep and Slayton, because at first it was like, all right, what's going on over there?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you heard exactly what happened. Of course, they're not gonna give you everything, but Slate was upset, and Shep was just there to kind of, talk him off the ledge a little bit, because Slayton's a little bit younger. He's a vet, but he's still a little bit younger than Shep. Shep was in the league when I was playing, bro. He got some years in. He's also been through the highs and the lows.
Yeah.
He was on the team that beat Dallas twice back in 2016. And if I'm not mistaken, he scored a touchdown that opening.
Yep. And that was his rookie year.
First game, if I'm not mistaken, he scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
So he's been at the highest level of success, and he's also been at a low. And I feel like right now he might be in that low spot where he's not playing that much, coming off an injury. He's a full dad, bro, like full 2 kids, like he's, like got divorced, like, bro, like this dude done been through so much. That's why you keep a guy like that on your roster, to help you out with these younger guys. And then who got the ball at the end and scored a touchdown on an amazing route?
Yeah.
Sterling Shepard, because he's been through the lows. He understands how to push it at 110%, even when you're losing. And I got off with Lance. I said John, but I got off with Lance. And Lance was talking about the younger guys, like not knowing any better, so they're still trying. It's like, that's not the case. I think guys that been through stuff like Shep has been through, kind of been on the fringe of making his team the last couple years because of being injured. He understands the importance of every single play and your mindset between plays and between drives. And you got to have that right mindset, that right energy to stay in the game for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Especially when you're losing bad.
But I also think I don't want to be reductive of what Darius Slayton has been through. I mean, they've seen ups and downs.
Oh, 100%.
But
that's why
Darius Slayton had to
he could talk to him.
But Slayton had to take a pay cut to stay on the roster, and then does so and produces well enough to take, to earn himself a good contract. And so he's seen some ups and downs too. I think it's just sometimes in that moment, you need to be reminded by people. Sometimes you're, as much as or can connect with the highs and the lows and keeping it here.
Take Sterling out of the Giants team. Who's going to talk to Slayton? in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Shep was the guy because there was nobody else besides Slayton with more experience in that room, let alone any other room.
Yeah.
You know, on the
I get
offense.
that.
You know what I
In
mean?
this organization.
In this organization. So guys like Shep, Pugh, Leonard Williams, guys that have like 9-10 years of play, no matter how their play is on the field, people respect them because of their body of work. You know what I mean? So you want guys like that in your locker room because they might not be the most talented, but they're the most tenured, they're the most experienced, and they've definitely been through the most out of anybody just because of the years that they've been in the league. And that offers validation when they speak. When they speak, it offers, that validation. So when you have a Pugh talking to Evan Neal or Andrew Thomas is the most talented guy at left tackle in the league. He's listening to Pugh when he talks.
Yeah.
No matter what, he's going to those dinners that he's making, not making them, but that he got guys going to. So I like that. And you need somebody to supplement Leonard Williams, whether that's Dexter, whether that's Xavier, guys that have, adequate experience in the NFL, because you can't forget that it's not just the play of Leonard Williams, it's also the presence of Leonard Williams.
Yeah.
And I think you're feeling that.
Bro, you gotta move on. You gotta move on from that though. You keep saying his name like he in a whole nother time zone now. Like
I'm with you, but someone's
got to step up. They got to do it now. They got to do it. They got to do it yesterday, or they got to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, like you know what I mean? Like someone
100%.
should have.
Well, it's like with anything, you give yourself
that role by now.
Yeah, you give yourself that period of time to grieve it. Say, wow, this is a bummer. We miss him as a guy. We miss what he brought to the line. We miss what he brought to the defense. You give yourself that time, and you're like, all right, now let's keep it pushing because you got to keep moving forward.
And one last thing on the Shep Slayton thing, another imagery I saw that was a positive was who'd you see right there behind those two? Jalen Hyatt was walking right behind them.
Yeah.
So now the young guy who could be the future here, I certainly think he's going to be the future here. Now he gets to see that. Now he's seeing the OG. Shep, it's funny calling Shep the OG now. He gets to see the OG passionately speaking to a guy that's put in his work here that deserves to kind of air his grievances out. So now the young guy sees it and he's like, all right, that's going to be me one day. I'm at the bottom. I've come in and it's like at the bottom of where everything is at. I want to get to having the respect to be able to speak up like that and calm one of my brothers down. And again, I've been in the Giants receiver room, Plaxico Burress and Amani Toomer made sure the culture was implemented. Like it says with the Steelers, the standard is the standard. And in that Giants receiver room, it's the same thing. You work your ass off, you block, you make big plays, and you're a great teammate. That's the standard in that receiver room. So it was good to see Jalen Hyatt there. Hopefully he takes some of that, and we'll keep an eye on how his leadership grows throughout the course of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, hoping that he's good and healthy and back on the field. As I mentioned earlier in the show, dealing with the concussion, so many guys, so many injuries, but this is a good one. Washington is a team, getting back to Sunday's game too. Washington's a team that the Giants have done well. I mean, they've won the last 2 games. They tied one last year as well. Saquon's had great games against the Commanders, against Washington. It's a different Washington team than we saw in week 7. Wing Martindale was talking about how Sam Howell has improved at the quarterback position, comparing it to the way that Bobby Okereke has ascended at the mic. And he's like, the way that we've seen Bobby Okereke really rise through the course of the season in that Mike linebacker role is the way that he says Sam Howell has improved at the quarterback position. Now, I don't know, Wink has always been very complimentary of opposing teams and players and such. But when you look at the way that Sam Howell has played of late, and the task for this defense going up against that team as well, when you're trying to go 2-0 against Washington and trying to get another division win on the season, what's this team's biggest challenge?
I think the Giants.
Yeah.
The Giants, you have to get their players to play. Like Dexter Lawrence has to play at a high level and be dominant. I don't know if he's going to be able to replicate what he did the first game, because that was like he was in the backfield every play. I don't know if that's going to happen. But even if he gives that valiant effort to do so, the attention that he will draw to him will allow other guys to play well.
To be 6 in pressures in the league at nose tackle is incredible. It's insane.
And the thing is, he doesn't really play that much at the 3 technique. He plays right over the ball.
Right.
And that's like, there's guards there. Like, there's a lot going on there. So for him to be that destructive, I mean, that speaks a lot to him. But the Giants need to play well defensively because I can't expect Tommy DeVito. I love the kid. He's a Jersey guy, Don Bosco. Like, I'm a fan of his because he's living the dream. Bro, we both undrafted, bro. His first start was against the Dallas Cowboys.
You started in the Star.
Come on. And he scored 2 touchdowns. I'm all for this kid because, I mean, I'd rather him over Barkley. I don't know what Barkley's going to bring, but I'll pick my
Talking
Jersey
about Matt Barkley.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'll pick my Jersey guy over anybody that ain't Tyrod Taylor or Daniel Jones right now. But I can't expect him to score more than 14. I can't expect him to score more than 14. So I think the Giants, I don't know if they can hold them to 7, but the Giants defensively need to keep this team contained offensively. They can't allow Sam Howell to throw the ball all down the field. And if they do, get tight in the red zone. Get good on third downs because they are pretty decent in the red zone. The Giants need to keep tightening up on the red zone, and they need their primetime players to make primetime plays. I called Dexter Lawrence out. I know he don't listen to this, but I called him out. He balls.
This is appointment viewing, JC. Everybody watches and listens to this show.
So next up, I want Xavier McKinney to have himself a day because that's somebody that really hasn't had one of those, man, you see McKinney today, 2 turnovers, 10 tackles. Like, he really hasn't had one of those days. And I think he's capable of doing it. And I think in order for the Giants to have success, they need big plays, stops, and possibly points out of the defense this week.
Possibly points. And Brandon, as we come to you on your change of location, what do you think? What do you think is the number one key for the Giants getting a win in Washington this week?
I think attacking the perimeter in the passing game. Again, these Commanders, you lost Montez Sweat and you lost Chase Young. You get Andrew Thomas back. The offensive line should be a lot better against this front 7 than what it was week 7 when they had dogs on their front 7. At the end of the day, Tyrod Taylor in the Giants pass game, hit 5 plays over 20 yards, big plays in the passing game. I think that was the first half alone. If I'm Tommy DeVito, you have to attack that. You have to exploit that. They're going to stack the box to try and stop Saquon Barkley. They're going to make you throw the ball. Hey, you got the guys on the outside. You've thrown with them enough. You've been in practice with them enough. And the fact that Brian Dable kept starting offense out there on that last drive to get some more game reps together, to make sure that you guys get game reps so you're not looking foolish out there going forward. Because Tommy DeVito, you could be the starter for the rest of the year if you play well enough. And JC, again, as undrafted guys, just think of what that does to your NFL career if you can start for the New York Football Giants for 8 games in your rookie year. So again, we can speak selfishly in a way from time to time, but undrafted guys, we got family. My man's eating at home. He's sitting at home with his mama right now.
Mama's making his bed.
Mom, meatloaf.
But you know what?
Meatloaf.
But you know what? That just gives him that much more time and energy. If he's not wrestling with the fitted sheet, he can spend that much more time breaking down the defense.
Fitted sheet is dangerous.
It's dangerous. Show me someone who could fold a fitted sheet, and I just
go like this, throw it.
Yeah, just roll it up real tight and this and that, whatever. Tuck and all that. Listen, also, before we go, I feel a little bit left out. I just want to remind everyone that all 3 of us on this show are undrafted in the NFL. So I did not win any Super Bowls, but you know what? That's okay. That's okay. No, but I'm part of the crew too, right?
Hey, just the fact that you can be open about it. You know, that shows growth. Hashtag growth.
Hashtag growth. All right. Well, that's a wrap for our show today. It's week 11, Giants Commanders, 1 p.m. in Washington. The Giants Hangout podcast presented by Crestron, a proud partner of the New York Giants. Thanks so much for listening. As always, for Brandon London, Jonathan Casillas, I'm Madelyn Burke. We'll see you next time.